I have not been here my whole life. I have been in Massillon about 21 years now. Previous to that, I was working on Wall Street at an investment banking firm. I met a young gal from Massillon, Ohio, and after dating a number of years, decided to get married, and she asked me if I would like to try something completely different. I could safely say that, yes, coming to Massillon, Ohio was completely different. From the moment we landed, I suppose, I looked around and thought we needed perhaps we could make things a little bit better. I asked her about things, probably like Gary or like a lot of people. There's no fence around Massillon. You don't have to live here. I could move tomorrow, but this was a choice. And my wife, who is a lifelong Massillonian, said, if there's something you don't like here, fix it. And I said, why me? And her response was pretty coy. She said, because you can. And so all I've been doing is sort of like the old Boy Scout motto. I'm just trying to keep the campsite, just to make the campsite a little bit better than I found it. I started off initially working in the downtown. When I showed up, the place was boarded up. I think I was here for 2 weeks, and suddenly I'm the president of Massillon Main Street. Well, I didn't know how to do anything, so I started doing title searches, digging around. I unboarded the downtown. We painted it. We hunted down the out-of-town owners. We brought local ownership back to the community. I mean, I was just doing what seemed logical to me. And that was a nice experience. Did that for a couple of years. Actually, it's interesting, the building we're sitting in now. While I was on the board of Massillon Main Street, the president, I served on the museum board. At the time, the museum, as people might remember, were inside this building. Everyone was outgrowing their space, so what I do, I didn't know how to, any better. I went out and I found a realtor, a guy named Tom Jackson, was representing the RTC, which was a government organization that was cleaning up the savings and loan mess. People might remember about 20 years back when we had a banking crisis in America. I hunted him down. I found a building. Took about 15 minutes. We negotiated a deal, and that's where the museum sits now. Right across the street from my nice museum was a 6-story empty building sitting right on the corner. Did a little bit of homework. I grabbed Judge Eddie, at the time was the president of the board on Massillon Main Street. Johnny Meyer was a state rep. We went to Columbus, and we are the first city that utilized municipally backed bonds for a housing project. We turned around and took what was a 6-story kitchen coop, turned it into a senior citizen high-rise. What I tell people is, there are times when you run into situations you might not understand, you just sort of jump in. Use a little common sense, you dig around a little bit, and that's really how my involvement in the community has been. I've been president of the Rotary Club, I've been on the Chamber of Commerce boards, museum boards, and just trying to pitch in. Well, a few years back now, I was coaching Little League. Right? I'm trying to spend some time with my kids. And I had sort of an odd situation in life. I wound up having heart surgery. Had no idea there was anything wrong with me. One day, they tell me my widowmaker is 95% blocked. Well, I go in for one of these cool, minimally invasive surgeries. And, well, I get to still be here. And a week later, I'm sitting on the sidelines again. And I'm, trying to coach these little kids. And I had the chance to sit back, and I'm noticing the people that were bringing these kids to the games. This isn't like when we were in Little League. Now, I would watch the mom show up. Maybe the next week they'd be here with a different boyfriend, right? I noticed mostly grandparents bringing their kids. And you started to understand that an awful lot of these kids really didn't have the benefits that a lot of us did growing up. And I thought about that. I started looking into the school district, and I spent 2 years on a committee called the Data Committee with 26 educators in our school district. And I studied the school system because that's how I was trained to get things done, do a little homework. Well, what I found was in Massillon we were spending more money per student than any other district in our county at the time. And our results weren't very good. Kind of irked me a bit. So again, I said, honey, I'm not happy. She said, fix it. So I ran for the Board of Education, right? And so I could tell you, and as we go through the evening, you know, my motivation, like Gary, like a lot of people, I have 2 children who are still currently in our school district, right? And I see the quality education that my kids get because I focus on them. It's expected that my kids are going to bring home 8s on their report card. It's expected they're going to be involved in the arts. It's expected that they're going to participate in team sports, because I want that same well-rounded education that I received. So, I've been on the board for 4 years now, and as we roll through this, perhaps I could tell you a little bit about what I found and what we've been able to accomplish so far. And contrary to popular belief, we've actually accomplished quite a bit over the last few years. So, I know it gets a little noisy sometimes, but my mom used to say, if you don't hear the pots and pans rattling in the kitchen, there's no dinner being cooked. We're getting things done.